Once upon a time, in the magical land of Equestria, there was a great war between... I couldn't do it with a straight face. Oh, I couldn't do it with a straight face. I was going to talk about how the Queendom of Ponies and the Zebra Empire had a war, how there was mega spells raining from the skies and balefire sweeping across the land because war never changes, but I could not do it with a straight face. Oh boy, don't get me wrong, I love me some Fallout Equestria. Like, genuinely one of my favorite books of all time. I fucking adore it. But we're not here to talk about Fallout Equestria, although it will probably get referenced. We are certainly not here to talk about Project Horizons, although I know for sure it is going to be referenced. What we are here to talk about is My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, and the 26 episodes that comprise Season 1. I binged Season 1 last week. It is not my first time binging the first season of this show. I have seen all of these episodes multiple times. My first time through the show, obviously right now, back in 2020, because October 10th, 2020, I believe, was the 10-year anniversary of the show. That's when I kind of first had the idea of, I want to marathon the entire show again. And I had done it, I had watched Season 1, and I got in a few episodes into Season 2, and then I just stopped, not because I was like, oh my god, I don't want to do this anymore. I just kind of didn't keep doing it, and I was like, fuck, I need to do this again, because I genuinely want to watch it again. I want to know, is this show actually good? If it is actually good, is there a point in its 9 seasons and 200 plus episodes that it gets bad? And I'm not just talking about like, oh yeah, there's an individual episode. You got 200 plus episodes. Law of averages, there's gonna be some that are total dog shit. But is there a point where like Season 5 or something, you're like, oh man, whatever happened in Season 5, like onwards, the show was terrible? Is there anything like that? Like, what are the best two-parters? Who are the best characters? What are the best songs? I want to know this. So I decided to embark on a journey through the magical land of Equestria. As to give an update on where I'm at right now, I am past the halfway point of Season 2. I am on episode 18. I haven't watched any today. I have 9 episodes left. I will not be finishing the season today. But I am hoping that sometime later I can get a chunk of the episodes done. Excuse me. And then hopefully tomorrow on Thursday, I can get Season 2 done, which would be perfect because I'm leaving for my vacation on Friday. And I don't believe I will be able to watch Friendship is Magic on international waters because I'm not going to have the internet to do so. Although, that would be kind of funny. I'm like, hold up, let me binge Season 3. Let me watch Magical Mystery Cure on international water. I'm in Costa Maya, baby. What better way to fucking celebrate than by watching Magic Duel or some shit. But, let's go ahead and get this started. But, of course, before I get this started, I have to give an explanation about what the tiers are, what these all mean to me specifically, so you know when I put something in there, this is what it means for me. Starting at the bottom, BOTFB, bottom of the fucking barrel. What that means for me is, this is prime dog shit. This is primo trash. As I like to say, for me, bottom of the fucking barrel is 3 requirements. You have to be at the bottom of the list, and you have to be actively disliked. If you are at the bottom of a list of things I like, you are not bottom of the fucking barrel. The example I always use is the Toy Story movies. With Friendship is Magic, I could say it's like my least favorite member of the main 6, because I genuinely like all 6 of them. I remember my first time through, though, it was like, oh, it was Rarity. I could not stand Rarity. I thought she was annoying as hell. It was partway through Season 2. I don't even remember when. I know it wasn't Sweet and Elite. I fucking hated that episode when I first watched it. There was a point where finally Rarity clicked, and I was like, wait a second. this character's kind of good. I don't think she's super annoying. And now anytime I watch, like, Rarity in an episode, like, she's so fucking funny. I don't even know who my least favorite character member of the main six is. I think it kind of depends on the episode, because sometimes of the way a character is written in an episode, I'm like, this is not Fluttershy's best performance. Like, this isn't Pinky at her best, you know. But overall, I feel like I like them more or less kind of evenly, but I have more of a soft spot for, like, for Rainbow Dash and Twilight. But anyway, that's kind of what I mean. Like, you have to be at the bottom and actively disliked. And so vehemently disliked. I have to be so passionate and so bitter about how much I hate this thing that it is, you are not at the bottom by default. You, sir, ma'am, or something else in between, or none at all, you earn your spot at the bottom. And if you saw my 2023 movie tier list, I had 4 bottom of the fucking barrels. Because, boy, there was some primo talk shit that I watched last year. Oh, Wish is a work of art, man. It's not entertainingly bad. It's not hilariously bad, but it's so fascinatingly bad. It's kind of amazing. Then we get F tier. This is just dog shit. It's bad. I actively hate it. I don't hate it enough to put it down here, but I do hate it. D and C, if you watch my tier list, you know what I'm going to say. To me, these are the twins. They're the mid-twins. D is the more disappointing. C is the more, just kind of neutral on it. Like, it's okay. It's kind of mid. Or it might be something that there's things I really like about it, but there's also things I really hate about it, and then they all kind of balance out for it being a bit more neutral. B generally means that I respect it more than I like it. There's usually, like, something in here that I love so much, even if the rest of it has a lot of problems. A means I just really like it. I think it's neat as fuck. I can gush about it. S means you are in contention for being my favorite of whatever we're talking about. So you would be an S tier episode. An S tier episode means this is one of my favorite episodes in season 1. The double S means this is deadass my favorite episode of season 1. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not 100% what is going to be here. I feel like what's going to happen, I'm going to put a lot of episodes in S. And then after I've done that, I'm like, okay, now we kind of start making the cuts. Which of these are still S tier? Now that I'm looking at the whole list, which ones am I going to have to bump down to A? And then which one goes up here? What I want to do, and I don't know if I'll be able to do this, what I want to do is after all 9 seasons, I want to take all of my S and double S tier episodes and all my F and bottom of the fucking barrel tier episodes and do a tier list. It's like, here's all the best episodes of the show and the worst episodes of the show. So what is the triple S episode of Friendship is Magic and whatever goes under bottom of the fucking barrel? Like, what is the Kuro 2? What is the Kuro 2 of Friendship is Magic? Maybe I will just call it the Kuro 2 tier. I was like, I'm able to call it the Abyss or the Shadow Realm. Like, I might just call it the Kuro 2. But with all of that out of the way, we are starting with our season premiere and our series premiere, Friendship is Magic, parts 1 and 2. Maybe this is part 1 and that's part 2. I don't know. And to go ahead and say it, I'm not just putting them in C tier. Generally, when I try to do one of these, I try to put whatever I'm talking about in the middle of the screen. C or B is kind of the middle-ish. I'm just going to put them in C right now. Sorry, I just did a lot of talking there. I'm going to just get a quick drink of water. Okay. The series fucking premiere. I feel like my impression of the episode really depends on how I'm going into it. And I feel, I mean, you can kind of say that about almost anything. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, like, if you're in a bad mood, you might not like something as much, and you always take your biases and shit in. What I mean is this. The first time I watched these 2 episodes, Well, let me say it like this first. Like, my introduction to Friendship is Magic was the death battle between Rainbow Dash and Starscream. That was the first time I had heard of this incarnation of My Little Pony. That was the first time I had seen any clips from it. And I was like, huh, that looks kind of fun? That looks kind of entertaining? I don't know. Maybe I should check it out. And I remember I had recently got dumped by my girlfriend of 3 years, who was still a very good friend of mine. But I was going through a lot at the time. I was very emotionally, like, wrecked. And I ended up binging the show, and at that point, it was all of Season 1 plus Return of Harmony and Lesson 0, I believe. So I binged what was available, and it was something that gave me genuine comfort. I was like, I really just enjoyed watching this show, and it was making me happy. But I went into this without, like, crazy expectations. I was like, you know what, this looks kind of fun, but it's My Little Pony. Like, this is not gonna be good, right? And I watched it, and I was like, you know what? I don't know if I would say it's good, but it's better than I was expecting from My Little Pony. I feel like I kind of like the look of it. Like, the show is Flash animated, except for the movie and one of the specials, which I believe used Toon Boom, and I'm gonna be honest, I really fucking hate that look. And I think a lot of that is, this is how the show looks, and then doing something completely different for the movie. Like, I kind of get it. It's like, we have more budget, we can make it look better. I'm like, everyone looks weird. This is not how these characters look. This is not how Equestria looks. Why are you doing this? It's like watching Serenity, and then the actual ship Serenity looks pretty. I'm like, but that's the point in Firefly, is that Serenity is this hunk of junk in space that's held together by 3 paper clips and a piece of string, which I think are the same things that are holding Mitch McConnell together. Like, why does it look nice? It actually takes me out of the movie. It's a minor thing, but it bothers me immensely. Anyway, it went off on several tangents. My point is, I went in with the expectations of, this is My Little Pony, it's not going to be good. And it was kind of entertaining, like the whole 10 seconds flat thing. That fucking Steven Magnet. That's the sea serpent. I was like, this is genuinely really funny. I love Twilight Sparkle's characterization in the first 2 episodes, which is a lot of her characterization throughout season 1 and like the early parts of the show, where she really feels like the audience surrogate. Not in just the sense of, we're like, this is the character who's going to meet all the characters that you, the audience, are getting to meet and blah, blah, blah. I mean, she feels like the adult who has to watch My Little Pony and doesn't want to fucking be here and wants no part of it. She is cynical, she is sarcastic, she is sardonic, and it is beautiful. Like, I love her facial expressions throughout these first 2 episodes. It's gold. So I had a good time with it. I've watched the episode since, and after becoming a genuine fan of the show, and I'm like, I really like season 1, and then I was loving season 2, you know, etc., 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 rewatching the first 2 episodes, I'm like, boy, these are not good. This is not the best first impression. What the fuck is up with Applejack's voice? Because her voice early on is a lot more high-pitched than it is later in the show. I'm not even sure when it happens, but there's kind of a point somewhere in, I think, closer like the back end of season 2, the back end of season 1, where it gets a little bit deeper, kind of what you're used to, and then in season 2, I'm like, no, Applejack sounds right now. I was like, that's weird. The first scene with Rainbow Dash, she has this weird, like, Tommy Wiseau chuckle after almost every sentence, and I don't know why she's doing that. Like, that's not really part of her character. It's kind of weird. I don't hate it, but I'm like, I don't love this. And I feel like if I went into this knowing that, boy, this is a show that has this huge fandom around it, like the whole brony shit, and there's 200 plus episodes, and this is where it all started, I probably would have been really disappointed by the first 2 episodes. So going into it this time, as someone who has watched all 200 plus episodes, as someone who genuinely loves Friendship is Magic, but wants to also reevaluate it. It's like, all right, I want to come, like, I know I'm coming in as someone who already loves the show, who loves the cast, and blah, 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 blah. I want to be fair. I want to be honest. Let's try to blank slate this as much as possible. I think these are okay. Again, like, some of it is just kind of weird, like Applejack's voice or Rainbow Dash and her weird chuckles. But there's also some shit that's kind of funny. And I do like that the second half of the premiere is just kind of a big adventure. And that is something you do get throughout the show. Like, there's... sorry. I just swallowed for a second. You definitely get some episodes that are just characters chilling. Like this one, Look Before You Sleep. This is an episode that's just... I almost said Rainbow Dash. Applejack and Rarity and Twilight Sparkle are having a sleepover. And that's the entire plot of the episode. I mean, also, Applejack and Rarity are fucking hating each other. I think it's great. I think it's really entertaining. But they're also just having a sleepover. Nothing crazy happens. Then you have the episode right before it, Dragonshy, where they're climbing a mountain to go fight a dragon. So you kind of get a general vibe of what the show is going to be like in this episode, or like in this premiere. I'm assuming this is part 1, but I don't fucking know. I think these are like cut off, and I can't really read it super well. Anyways, point. Part 1 is Twilight meeting her... There we go. Part 1 is Twilight meeting her friends and it being generally a lot more low-key. Part 2 is, here's the cool, fun adventure with the elements of harmony using the Rainbow Kamehameha and the literal power of friendship. I think it's alright. There's a part of me that says I should probably put it in B tier. It's like, this is where everything started. This is the premiere. You kind of gotta give it its respect. It's not to the degree of something like Snow White, where I'm like, I would kind of want to give it an honorary S tier. I think an honorary B tier, but honestly, I feel like they are kind of C overall. Like, they're okay. No, I would say I respect them more than I like them. I'm not just neutral. I feel like I can do this. I think that's fair. So then we move on to episode 3, The Ticketmaster. This is the first episode of the show I remember liking. And I'm glad it was only episode 3. I'm glad we got to be having a good time really fucking quick. The basic plot of this episode is I didn't really talk about what the actual plot of the premiere is. Fucking whoops. Twilight's reading a book. Reads an old prophecy about Nightmare Moon, who is the wicked Mare of Darkness, which is the sister, the corrupted evil form of her mentor, Princess Celestia. It is her sister, Luna, who she imprisoned in the moon for 1,000 years, and the prophecy said, like, 1,000 years, I'll come back, and blah, 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 blah. So Twilight goes, oh, shit. Someone should stop this. And she writes to Celestia, and Celestia's like, Twilight, I don't give a shit. Instead, I want you to go make friends. So she sends her to Ponyville to oversee the... What's the word I want? The preparations. The preparations for the Summer Sun celebration, which is the celebration of Celestia beating Nightmare Moon. That is how Twilight meets the rest of the main 6. Applejack and the Apple family are working on the food. Rainbow Dash is supposed to clear the skies and like control the weather, because that's what Pegasi do. Fluttershy is in charge of music because she has the birds, and the birds the ones doing music. Rarity is overlooking all of the designs, and Pinkie Pie actually doesn't have anything to do. And kind of thinking about it in hindsight, like, wait, the Summer Sun celebration, well, celebration is a kind of party. You would think Pinkie would have something to do with a giant fucking party, but she doesn't. But she's just the first person Twilight meets in town, which is kind of fitting for Pinkie in that way. And after meeting everyone, Twilight goes to her house, which is a library that is built into a tree. And seeing it made me really nostalgic and really sad for the end of season 4. And she goes in, and there's a giant party in her honor that Pinkie threw, because Pinkie's like, oh my god, someone I don't know. But if, I know everybody in town. If there's someone I don't know, that means they're new in town. And if that means they're new in town, they don't know anybody, or any pony, excuse me. And if they don't know any pony, I gotta make sure they have friends so they can meet other ponies, so I threw this giant party in your honor. And That's at the first half of the episode, or the first half of the premiere. And at the very end, Nightmare Moon shows up, and you see these 3 kids huddled under a table at one point. I'm like, hey, that's kind of fun. They become a trio of main characters later. Also, weirdly enough, what is the episode called? Crusaders of the Lost Mark, which is the episode when the CMC get their cutie marks, happens literally 5 years later. Because this episode, I guess both of these, premiered on 10/10/10, and then which is the episode where they first premiered, and then it is 5 years to the day, 10/10/2015 is when they got their cutie marks. Just a fun little bit of trivia. It's like, wow, it took them 5 fucking years. Holy shit. And then the second half of the episode is, now that Twilight has her friends, they're gonna go stop Nightmare Moon. They have to get the elements of harmony, which are your magic MacGuffins for the series. There's one for honesty, and that's Applejack. There's loyalty, and that's Rainbow Dash, and kindness is Fluttershy, and laughter is Pinkie Pie, and generosity is Rarity. And then there's the 6th element, and it's the element of magic, and how you need a spark for it. And if you're reading Fallout Equestria, the element of magic and the spark are 2 different things, but they're not 2 different things here. Or if they are, I mean, maybe they are, and Twilight is just both of them, I don't know. But anyways, that's a thing that happens. They all have to go through these trials. The Nightmare Moon sets up for them, which is like Applejack has to be honest about something, etc., etc., etc. They get to the old... like, I had to do a big sigh. Then they get to the castle, the old dilapidated castle, the Everfree Forest, to get the elements of harmony, and they fight Nightmare Moon, and they use the power of rainbow friendship, and they purify her, and then Celestia's like, hey, little sis, now that you've been purified of the darkness, which really sounds like some Kingdom Hearts shit. Now that I'm saying it out loud, like, wait a second. Is Nightmare Moon Luna's Heartless? Is it Luna's Nobody? Hold on a second, because then you get to, I think it's season 6 is the Tantabus, which is like the darkness that was possessing Luna or some shit. You're like, is that Luna's Heartless? Is this a thing? I don't know. If Disney ever buys Hasbro, Equestria could be a world. Also, Cybertron could be a world. And I'd be pretty fucking down to see some Transformers. Anyways, they beat Nightmare Moon, purifying Rainbow. Twilight stays in Ponyville, and Celestia says, cool, just, whenever you learn something about friendship and the magic of friendship, just write me a letter and let me know. Like, that'll be, like, essentially a self-study course. Okay, now that I've said all that, let's get back to talking about episode 3. So, Ticketmaster. The plot is, there is this big party, this big ball called the Grand Galloping Gala. More on that later. And Twilight is given 2 tickets by Celestia. And she's with Applejack at the time, and Applejack's like, well, shoot there, Sugar Cube. I would love to go to the gala. I don't actually want to go dance or anything. I don't want to go schmooze. I just want to go sell shit. I just want to sell some food, some apple tarts, apple fritters, apple pies, etc., 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 so I make some money. We can fix up the barn. We can fix up my granny's hip, etc., etc., etc. And Twilight's like, yo, sure, I'll take you. And then Rainbow Dash, who was just napping over there, is like, wait a second. You got tickets? The Wonderbolts are at the tickets. The Wonderbolts are my fucking heroes. I want to go. I want to meet them. I want to schmooze. Because I want to be a Wonderbolt when I grow up. Which actually is a good question. It's like, how old are they? Because they're not kids. Because the Crusaders are explicitly children. I don't think they're teenagers either. I feel like they are young adults. Like, a lot of them have jobs. Like, Fluttershy lives alone. Rainbow Dash has a full-on fucking house. I would say they are in their 20s? Like, they're I would say probably early 20s, late teens. And Fluttershy is a year older than Pinkie Pie. Anyways, Rainbow Dash wants to become a Wonderbolt. That is her dream. She's like, dude, Twilight, if you take me, I can live my dream. And Applejack's like, simmer down there, kiddo. I called dibs on the ticket first. And then they kind of start arguing about it. Twilight's like, I mean, I really want to take Applejack because I already said that I kind of would. And she wants to, like, get money for her family. But Rainbow Dash wants to live her fucking dream. And I'd feel really shitty if I didn't let her have that. So I'm gonna need some time to think. Then she runs into Pinkie Pie, and Pinkie sees the tickets, and she's like, yo, you're going to the gala? Oh my god, you just, like, ran into me and gave me the tickets. You're gonna take me, dude. I'm so excited. I love parties. I love being able to just hang out with people and spend time with people and, like, do fun shit and play games, listen to good music. And the gala is the party in Canterlot, because it's called Canterlot instead of Camelot, and I fucking love that. And, like, we're gonna go, and we're gonna have a great time. And then Rarity shows up, and Rarity's like, oh, you're talking about the gala. I can't wait to go to the gala. I'm gonna meet my prince and have this Cinderella adventure where I meet the man of my dreams, Prince Blueblood. And I'm like, oh god, this asshole. And oh god, this asshole. I remember him in Project Horizons. What a piece of shit. They talk about that for a bit, and Pinkie's like, yeah, Twilight's gonna bring me to the gala, and it's gonna be so fun. Twilight's like, hold on a second. I never said I was giving that, like, I haven't decided who I'm giving the ticket to. And Pinkie looks really upset, and Rarity gets really excited at the same time. And then Fluttershy shows up. She's like, Twilight, I would, it's not like I want to go, but, I'm gonna be honest, I kind of do. I don't want to go to the party. I just want to go to the garden. Because they have all these cute creatures and the birds and the bunnies, and I just want to meet everyone. And Twilight's like, fuck! What do I do? I only have 2 tickets, and that includes me. And then even if I don't pick me, that means 3 of my friends are still gonna be upset. I just started making friends. I don't want to start, like, breaking hearts already. That's ass. So her friends then all start trying to schmooze up to her so they can get the ticket, which is just making Twilight more and more upset. She's like, no, I don't want my friends to bribe me. Like, that's fucked up. And then, the whole town ends up finding out that she has a ticket, which leads to a chase scene with this legally distinct Benny Hill music. And every time I hear it, I just think of Shaqtin' a Fool. Kenny, cue the music. Whenever it happens, but like, I'm just like, there's another scene. It's in Bird in the Hoof. Where's that one? Is that it? It was that one. It's one of those. Where Twilight and Fluttershy are trying to chase the bird, and they're playing the same music. I'm just thinking to myself, can you cue the music? And it just made me laugh even harder. But after all that shit happens, Twilight's like, okay. I only have 2 tickets, and I have 5 friends. That is 6 people, including me. 7 if you include Spike. And Spike, oh, I didn't mention Spike. Spike is Twilight's dragon assistant. He's, for all intents and purposes, Spike is her little brother. Not by actual relation, but, like, that's basically the relationship they have. It's a little brother that also works for her as just her assistant. They're like, look, Spike said he doesn't want to go, but that's 7 people total. All of my friends are, like, bothering me because they're trying to schmooze up to me, and it just, I don't want to deal with this, guys. So one by one, her friends are like, look, I don't want to do this to you. I don't want to do this to you either. I'm upset at myself for putting this pressure on you. I don't want the ticket. I don't want the ticket. I don't want the ticket. Until only Rainbow Dash is left, and she's like, yes! I was the last one to hold out. That means the ticket's mine. And then everyone starts glaring at her. She's like, okay, I know I'm the resident piece of shit, but even for me, that's pretty shitty. Fine. I don't want the ticket either. So Twilight writes back to Celestia like, all right, dog. I can't do this. I can't accept it. If I can't go with everybody, I can't go with everybody. So she sends him back. Because Spike can do that. Spike can spit fire onto, like, paper, and it magically teleports to Celestia, and I don't know why. I just think that's really fucking cool. I like that a lot. And then immediately she writes back and is like, Dearest Twilight Sparkle, why the fuck didn't you tell me that from the start? Here's 6 tickets. Actually 7. There's one for Spike too. And that's how the episode ends. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's a really fun episode. You get a lot of sarcastic Twilight. I think what I really like about it is in the premiere, you get to see everybody at their best. This, you're kind of seeing everybody at their worst. And I really, really like that. Not only is it a good dichotomy, but it's like, look, these are genuinely nice people. They have a good dynamic. They want to be friends and all of that shit. They're also people. They have their flaws. They have their dreams. But they can get caught up in their own shit, too. And it's gold. I can't say it's one of my favorite episodes of the season. Again, it's like, I almost want to give it, though, an honorary S tier. It's like, this is the first episode that I actually really liked. I feel like this episode is the reason I kept watching. If I'm being honest, though, I'm like, I feel like there's episodes, especially like when we start getting to like around here-ish, where the episodes just get so much better. I don't know if it would stay up here, so I think I'm just gonna put it in A tier. Then we get, then we get Applebuck season. This is our first, like, character study-based episode, and this is all about Applejack. I don't know if I'm gonna do, like, voices every time. I might. I'm sorry if I do, but I might. So the plot of this episode is that it's Applebuck season, which essentially means it's time to harvest all the apples. And Applejack's family, so there's, like, the big Apple family, which is from, like, all around Equestria. And in these, the premiere, you get to meet the whole extended family because they were having one of their Apple family reunions. More on that in season 3. Oh boy, I'm going to have a lot to say when I get to that episode. Surprisingly, you wouldn't think there'd be a lot to say about that episode, but I do. At one point, I guess like a little bit of a spoiler, at one point, it was dead ass my favorite episode in the entire show. Because it actually made me cry, and I was not expecting that. Like, we'll get to that when we get to that. But generally speaking, including herself, Applejack lives with 4 ponies. There's her grandma, Granny Smith, there's her big brother, Big Macintosh, and her little sister, Applebloom. No parents. Don't worry about it. They don't really bring that up for a lot of the show until way later. I want to say it's season 7? I'm actually going to check that. What season is the perfect pair? I want to say it's like season 7, episode like 24 or some shit. Maybe it's season 6. MLP. Let's see. Where is it? Oh, it is season 7. It's season 7, episode 13. Speaking of episodes that make me cry, like it's just an Applejack thing. Somehow, like, holy shit. It's like, how did you get an episode with William Shatner where he doesn't ham it up and, like, I'm fucking crying at the end. Holy fuck. But that's who she lives with. Grandma, brother, little sister. So it's time for the apple harvest. Grandma is too old, little sister is too young, and Big Macintosh is injured. So Applejack has to do this all by herself. And her big brother's like, it's actually really weird watching this episode because Big Macintosh talks in full fucking sentences where most of the time he just says yup or nope. He's a man of very few words, and we love him for, I guess he's a stallion of very few words. But here he's using full-ass sentences. And then essentially he's like, Applejack, it's time for the harvest season. You're gonna need help. Because there are so many fucking trees here, and unfortunately I can't help you. Now the rest of the family is able to help you, and Applejack's like, how dare you? You think I can't handle all this by myself? I can do this shit in my sleep. What's the line? Where he's like, but you're just one pony, and one ponies plus all those trees is a big issue. Don't use your fancy mathematics to muddle the issue. Just fancy mathematics. I love that. I love Applejack. Applejack is fucking great. So, really what the episode is, it is about Applejack, Honest Applejack's key character flaw. She is stubborn as fuck. She is like, okay, big brother, if you don't think I can do this, I am going to prove to you that I can. And doing so, she is overexerting herself, and she is getting very clearly physically and mentally exhausted. In addition to that, she's doing just a lot of good shit around town. helping people with things. Like, she's a good baker. She's good at helping Rainbow Dash, like, with her tricks and shit. Helps Fluttershy with the animals. And as the episode is going on, and she's getting more tired, more exhausted, she's just really not all there anymore. It is making her performance not only in the fields, or I guess in the fields, in the orchard, excuse me. Not only her performance in the orchard, but her performance around town is getting worse and worse and worse. And because it's getting worse and worse, it's starting to become a lot more dangerous for other ponies. So Twilight's talking to her, is like, AJ, just ask for help. You don't even have to ask for help. I am offering my assistance. Like, just tell me what the fuck I need to do. Tell your friends what the fuck you need us to do. And we are happy to help you. But you have to be willing to ask. You have to be willing to accept it. And Applejack's saying, fuck you. I don't need any pony's help. And then by the end of the episode, she's like, I did it. I cleared the entire orchard. I bucked every single dang tree out here. I didn't need no pony's help. To which Big Macintosh says, sis, that was half the orchard. Oh, what? Yeah, you cleared half of it by yourself. There's the rest of it. Okay, I need some help. I'm gonna be dead ass. I can't do this shit by myself, Twilight, please. So, Twilight and the rest of the squad help out, and Applejack's like, cool, I learned a fucking important lesson. There are just things you cannot do by yourself. Sometimes you need help. You gotta learn to accept help from your family, from your friends, because being stubborn don't help no pony whatsoever. Flash forward to one of the episodes I watched last night, the Super Speedy Cider Squeezy 6000, which I just refer to as the first Flim and Flam episode, which ends with, Dear Princess Celestia, I didn't learn anything. I was right all along. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, Applejack? You guys know, like, you lost, right? Like, I know it's a little more complicated than that. It's like, I guess it is... She's taking her lesson from this episode and letting people help her, but Flim and Flam's machine produced cider that is of more or less equal quality to yours and does it a lot faster. They turned off the quality control, and that's why they kind of ultimately lost their goodwill. That is 100% true. But your whole thing about, like, it doesn't matter as long as you produce it with love, you can take as much time as you need, like... No, actually, you were explicitly proven to be wrong. The fuck you mean you didn't learn anything? Shut up, Applejack. But I love Applejack. I love this episode. Again, for me, I don't think it's an S tier episode for me. I think it's a very strong A. I feel like for our first real character study episode, it's a pretty dang good one. Bro, have I already been talking for like an hour? How the fuck have I only talked about 4 episodes? I talk too much. Griffon The Brush Off. So this is a Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash centric episode where Dash's friend Gilda the Griffin comes in from out of town, is hanging out with Dash. Okay, so actually it starts with Rainbow Dash and Pinkie becoming friends. Because the way it's written in the start of the episode is like Pinkie's friends with everybody, and Rainbow Dash just wants nothing to do with her. She's like, this chick is so fucking annoying. I don't want to deal with her. And Pinkie goes, like, Rainbow Dash, let's do shit. And then they start pulling pranks together, and Rainbow Dash is like, hold on a second. Wait, you mean Pinkie's fun to hang around with? You mean she's cool? Huh. I didn't know that. I did not know that was a thing. You know what, Pinkie? You're alright with me, and like daps her up and shit. And as they are pranking, they essentially have 2 rules. Number 1, make it harmless. Don't actually hurt anybody or fuck with their shit or hurt their feelings. Number 2, make sure to only prank people who can take it. Because Rainbow Dash wants to prank Fluttershy, and Pinkie's like, no. Fluttershy is off limits. She is too sweet. She is too gentle. She is too pure for this evil world. We can't fuck with her. And Rainbow Dash is like, alright, that's fair. So then the next day, Pinkie wants to go hang out with Rainbow Dash. Rainbow's friend from out of town, that being Gilda the Griffin, shows up. And the way I see this episode, it comes across as Gilda, who is not a good person, and I don't want to, overlook that. She comes out of town and just wants to see her old friend and spend some time together. And Rainbow Dash is like, yeah, I kind of want to do the same. Pinkie's my homegirl now. I don't mind hanging out with her more, but I kind of want to spend time with this person. And Pinkie doing everything she can to intrude on it and have more time with Rainbow Dash and also meet a new friend. Rainbow Dash pretty quickly is like, you know what? That's fine by me. I don't mind. I can hang out with two friends, let them meet each other, let's have a good time. Gilda very clearly doesn't want to do this. She is here to visit her friend. She doesn't want to deal with this annoying pink piece of shit. Understandable. As someone who loves Pinkie Pie, it's like, that's very understandable not wanting to deal with Pinkie. So, Gilda is treating Pinkie like shit and trying to, I don't even think it's that subtle, but she's kind of like, hey, can we not deal with this person? And then Pinkie goes to Twilight and is like, hey, Twilight, Gilda's kind of fucking mean to me. And Twilight's like, look, I mean, I don't know, maybe she's not that bad, Pinkie. Maybe you're just overly sensitive. And Pinkie's like, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Then sees Gilda just being rude, stealing, yelling at Fluttershy. She's like, okay, Gilda's an actual piece of shit. I'm going to throw her a party and see if that makes her happier. And Rainbow Dash sets up a bunch of pranks at the party, and Gilda ends up falling for all of those pranks. She thinks Pinkie did it to make her look like a fool, like a buffoon, just like a Gabara-level doofus. And she yells at Pinkie, which makes Rainbow Dash upset, and she defends Pinkie, and then Gilda's like, man, fuck all of you, and then she leaves. With the moral of the story being, hey, sometimes your friend is friends with other people, and those people are pieces of shit, and you should let your friend know that their friend is a piece of shit, so they don't be friends with pieces of shit anymore, and that's the episode. I don't really like it very much. I think for me, and again, we get this montage of Gilda being a genuinely terrible person, and I will not deny that. I think for me, a moral I would have liked more with the premise of how the episode is set up, at least at the start, is not that, hey, if your friend is friends with a terrible person, make them aware. I mean, to be fair, it's not like that is a bad moral. It's like, sometimes there is a toxic influence in your life and you need to cut that shit out so you can be healthier and be better. But it feels like what it's kind of trying to go for at first is, sometimes you can have a friend who is friends with other people, and those other people don't like you. And that's completely fine. Pinkie can be friends with Rainbow Dash, Gilda can be friends with Rainbow Dash, and Pinkie and Gilda just do not click. But that doesn't mean their relationships with Rainbow Dash are bad. You can genuinely be friends with people who don't like each other. Just be sure to kind of give them their space. That's okay. You don't have to be super possessive of your friends. Instead, they go with no, be super possessive of your friends, because if they're mean to you, it means that they're awful. I just don't really care for that. It's an episode I don't find super, I like a lot of the antagonists in the show. We're about to get to Trixie here in a second. I just don't find Gilda all that much fun before or after it's revealed that she's a piece of shit. She's kind of like, oh, that's okay, I guess. Yeah, to me, this is a D tier episode. I don't think it's an F tier. I don't think it's not this bad. I don't even think it's this bad, but I put it around here. Then we get Boast Busters. This is a bad episode. It's also a really good episode at the same time. Short version of this one, which I feel like I say that anytime I'm about to explain something, and then I'll still talk for a long while and go on tangents, so take that with a grain of fucking salt. quote-unquote short version, Twilight is studying more magic, learning more tricks, and speaking of tricks, there is a showmare named Trixie who comes into town. She is a street performer. She is a traveling magician who's just like, I'm coming into town, I'm putting in my show, blah, 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 blah. I was in Huffington. I'm like, Huffington? That's right. This is where it comes from. This is where Project Horizons comes from. Fuck you. Anyways, back on track. And she's like, it is a street performer coming into town, and she's doing a bit. She's talking about how great she is, how powerful she is. Weirdly enough, she doesn't roll her R's. That's something I remember in other episodes. She is the great and powerful Trixie. And I'm like, I don't think I heard her roll a single R in this episode. I'm like, that's wrong. Am I just misremembering her characterization later in the show? Maybe, but I remember her rolling R's like all the fucking time. But she's talking about how she defeated the... I had an accent there, I didn't mean to. Defeated the dreaded Ursa Major in this town, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking to myself, she's a street performer. Of course she's super arrogant. Of course she has this big persona. That's what you do. You're doing a bit. You talk shit to get people to watch your show. And then she's performing her show, not hurting anybody. And the town is gathered to watch her perform. And they're having a good time. But the main six... I can't blame everybody, because I think Fluttershy and Pinkie are in the episode, but they don't say anything, which I believe makes this the first episode to not really feature the entire main cast. But it's specifically Applejack, Rarity, Rainbow Dash, and Spike are like, oh my god, she's so annoying. She's so obnoxious. All she's doing is bragging. Keep in mind... they can leave at any time. They didn't pay for this. They're not trapped. They can just say, you know what? This ain't for us, and leave. Instead, they specifically stay, talk loudly, and start heckling her and challenging Trixie. To which Trixie, like, I imagine basically any performer does to hecklers, is like, okay, I'm gonna put you in your fucking place. So she puts her hecklers in their fucking place, which then makes the other friends more incensed. Like, hey, like Rainbow Dash has a line where, for all intents and purposes, she's like, hey, where do you get off tooting your own horn and being super arrogant and super cocky? That's my thing. Fuck you for stealing my thunder. And, etc., etc. Trixie fucks with them, and then Spike's like, Twilight, you've gotta upstage her! Make it stop! Again, they can just leave, and Twilight's like, I don't want to do that, because I don't want to be very confident and brag about the cool things I can do, because my friends clearly hate it when Trixie is doing the same thing, and that makes me no better than Trixie. And then there's these two kids named Snips and Snails, which also give me Project Horizons PTSD because of some really grade A stupid shit that happens with Snail. Oh my god. Oh, I'm gonna... Oh. I don't know when it's gonna happen. There's gonna be a point talking about friendship is magic. I don't know what season it's gonna be. I don't know what episode it's gonna be. There's gonna be a point where I go on a full Project Horizons rant. And I'm gonna try to keep it from happening. Because once I start, it don't stop. I could go for days. But they do some dumbass shit in that story. They do some dumbass shit in this episode, too. Where they, like, obsess over Trixie and, like, we want to see her beat an Ursa. So they go into the Everfree Forest to find one and bring it into town. Trixie's like, I can't do this. I'm a performer. It's a bit. I'm just like, yeah, I'm super cocky and arrogant. That's the point. I've never actually beaten this. And then Twilight's able to quell it by, basically just making like a giant water bottle and like some milk and yeah, that's right. She milks a bunch of cows. It's actually kind of a fun scene. Like her making the bottle and shit, and he's like, yeah, it's just a baby, I took care of it, and Trixie's like, oh, that was just a baby? That's an Ursa Minor? Well, you still didn't defeat an Ursa Major, and that's what I did, because that's my bit, and I'm leaving. And then she leaves. And the moral of the story is, yeah, don't be super arrogant or cocky or obnoxious, because it makes people not like you, but there's nothing wrong with having confidence in your own abilities. And I'll be honest, I think it's generally a good moral. Like, yeah, like, don't be a dickhead, don't be an asshole, but have some confidence in yourself. If there's something you do well, it means you do it well, and that's great. The problem is, it's a street performer doing a bit. That's fine. You can just leave. And there's no conflict. Which I guess is the point. Is like, well, there'd be no conflict. Duh. Like, that's... If the main six weren't assholes in this episode, like, they're... Let me rephrase this. Why I don't like this episode is that it treats the main six as being justified for heckling Trixie when they are completely in the wrong. Do they get comeuppance? Yes, because Trixie outstages them, but it is presented as Trixie being in the wrong and them being victimized rather than the other way around. And they get out of the episode, as far as the episode is concerned, looking like the good guys. I don't have a problem with Twilight, because Twilight wasn't actively talking shit, and when a problem presented itself, she took care of the problem. Applejack is escalating an issue that is a non-issue. Same with Rainbow Dash. Same with Rarity. Same for Spike. I actually think they all come out of this episode looking super unlikable, which makes me want to put the episode like around here or around here. But this episode has Trixie. And Trixie is great. I love this character. Even just in this episode, I think she's a ton of fun. I love her design. I love her fucking coat. I love her whole bit. She is great. Trixie is what brings the episode to a C. Because, like, her herself, I'd want to put, like, around here-ish. But the rest of the episode is about here, so I feel like it balances out to being a neutral C tier. Then we get to Dragonshy, which, aside from not Return of Harmony, that's Discord. Aside from Friendship is Magic Part 2, is really our first big adventure episode. It is an episode where a dragon is taking a nap in a mountain, and because it's taking every time it snort, I don't know if you can hear that, that's Princess. I think Princess is dreaming. Every time the dragon is snoring, smoke is coming out, and it's gonna fill all over Equestria. So Twilight has to gather the A-Team, which is her friends, to go stop the dragon. And they go on adventure, and they climb a mountain, and Fluttershy is just the load the entire time. She's too scared of dragons, so she can't fly, and she ends up screaming really loud at one point, which causes an avalanche, and the entire episode, Rainbow Dash wants nothing to do with Fluttershy. And what I love about it is you even get it later in the season. Where's called Cutie Mark Chronicles? You get it around there, and then in later episodes as well. It makes it very clear Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy have been friends forever. So, if like at the time it kind of comes across as, wow, Rainbow Dash is just a terrible fucking friend. She just wants nothing to do with Fluttershy, is just mean to her, is constantly berating her, and is like, why is she here? Why are we bringing her here? This is awful. In hindsight, it comes across as less of she is a terrible friend and more just she's Fluttershy's most tenured homie. And as the most tenured homie, she is able to get away with this shit. It's like, I've known this person so long, I can kind of say whatever I want about them because we have been through so much shit together. They know I love them. I know they love me. We're okay. I kind of appreciate that. There's kind of also this sense of like, look, I know her well enough to know she is ill-equipped for what we are trying to do. She is genuinely gonna slow us down and waste our time. We shouldn't bring her. Which ultimately ends up being both correct and wrong. She slowed them down. She wasted a lot of time, but it was Fluttershy and her... Not her freaky knowledge of sewing, that's a different episode, but her freaky knowledge of animals that is able to overcome the dragon and convince it to get up and leave and stop being a piece of shit. And Rainbow Dash kicks it in the face at one point. But that rainbow one kicked me. And the Rainbow Dash just fucking nodding and she's so proud of it. I think it's hilarious. I don't feel like I've talked about this episode as much as some of these others, but I'm going to be honest, it's kind of an S-tier episode. I love Dragonshy. I was like really excited to watch it again. I was like, yeah, this is... I think it's the first great episode of the show. You get the entire cast in it. I think pretty much everyone gets to do something, either like a bit of an action scene or get to do something funny. Rarity doesn't get a whole lot, but there's just this one little scene where she's playing tic-tac-toe with Pinkie Pie as they're waiting for Applejack to catch up with them with Fluttershy, and then she like loses tic-tac-toe again. She's like, that's the 35th game in a row. Best of 71. Like, it's a little joke, but it makes me laugh. It's great. This episode is great. It's an easy S-tier episode. Speaking of Rarity, look before you leap. Look before you sleep, excuse me. As I mentioned earlier, the plot of this episode is Applejack and Rarity are having a bit of a feud. There is a scheduled downpour because the Pegasi control the weather, and Applejack's like, this is how we take care of it, and Rarity's like, darling, this is how we should do things. And they're starting to get on each other's nerves, like, really hard, and like, okay, here's what we should do. Let's go our separate ways for tonight, before one of us does something that she's probably gonna regret and doesn't really mean. But then the lightning starts, so like, we gotta go find shelter. So they go to Twilight's tree, who has a magical lightning rod, so it's fine. And Twilight's like, oh, we get to have a sleepover. I've never had one. I've got a book on sleepovers. I've read about sleepovers. We can play Truth or Dare. We can make piping hot schmoes. They're called s'mores. Sorry, I fucking love Toy Story so much, man. Just fucking Buzz's face. It's just hot schmoes. Telling ghost stories, playing Truth or Dare, all this kind of fun shit. And throughout the episode, it's Twilight is just innocently having like the best time of her life, or at least trying to. And Applejack is just talking shit to Rarity the entire time. And Rarity is doing the same thing right to Applejack. And that's the entire episode. And I like Applejack. I like Rarity. I like Twilight Sparkle. So I honestly think it's a pretty good time. I think there are episodes that are funnier. I think there are episodes that are like it's like it comes right after Dragonshy, which is a really hype episode, and right before Bridle Gossip, which is a really fucking funny episode. But I feel like it's probably about here-ish. Like, I don't know if I like it quite as much as these two, but I don't think it's quite a B-tier episode either. I don't know, maybe that means these are actually S-tier episodes. Let's you know what, let's do that for now. We'll see how it goes. Now let's go and just get to the next one. Bridle Gossip. This is the Zecora episode. This is what introduces Zecora the zebra, which, of course, reminds me of the Great Pony War and Fallout Equestrian, the other one. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of Fallout Equestria stories. I've read the original. I've read Project Horizons. I've read Pink Eyes. I really fucking love Pink Eyes. I got partway through here. What is it called? Is it called Heroes? The one with Hired Gun. And I just didn't really get into it. I haven't read Murky number 7. I don't think I will. I've heard it's really good. I just know it's really, really fucking long. Like, I mean, it's not like watching Friendship is Magic is going to be short or anything either. I don't know. Maybe when I'm done with Worm, I can listen to like an audiobook or something. I just don't feel super hyped for it, but I can maybe be convinced. Anyways, they meet Zecora, and everyone thinks that she's as Pinkie puts it in her song, an evil enchantress who does evil dances, and if you look deep in her eyes, she'll put you in trances. then what will she do? She'll mix up an evil brew and she'll gobble you up in a big tasty stew. So watch out. To which Twilight says it's very catchy, and Pinkie, it's a work in progress. That's it. This is also an episode with Applebloom, who debuts here. I think has an appearance here. But this is the first time she's, like, really been a character. And Twilight's like, okay, everyone is way too superstitious and kinda racist. Maybe not even kinda, and I think this is stupid and you're all being awful. And Applebloom's like, yeah, this is pretty fucked up. I don't want to be racist. I don't want to be superstitious. And, my brain stopped for a second. So, Applebloom, oh yeah, because what happens is Zecora comes into town and all the shops are like closed and the shutters are up because no one wants to deal with her. So, Applebloom ends up escaping Sugar Cube Corner where everyone is huddled up to go, like, meet Zecora and talk to Zecora. So the main six plus Spike. I don't remember Spike. No, I don't think Spike went with them. I think Spike stayed behind Sugar Cube Corner in case she came back. They go to chase after Applebloom and they find her in the Everfree Forest with Zecora and these blue flowers, which I fucking love. I almost called them Killing Joke. I love Poison Joke so much, and I fucking love Killing Joke. Again, Fallout Equestria, Project Horizon shit. They're just gonna keep coming up. What Poison Joke does is it just kind of fucks with a character. It fucks with a pony to do something funny. Twilight, someone who's very, proud of her magic and very good with magic. It puts, like, these spots on her horn, and she can't use it. It flops around, and Clay has also watched, I don't know if he's watched every episode. I think he's watched every episode of Friendship is Magic. He's been watching a few of the episodes with me. He's like, there's a few I specifically want to watch. Like, he wanted to watch Return of Harmony and Lesson Zero. Lesson Zero is his favorite episode. He specifically told me, he's like, okay, when you get to the wedding, I'm watching the wedding. Fucking Care-a-Lot wedding. It's so stupid, and it's like, I don't care. It's amazing anyway. It makes no sense, and I don't fucking care. I can't wait for the Care-a-Lot wedding. Anyways, every time Twilight's horn just started flopping around, he's like, oh, this makes me so uncomfortable watching it. Pinkie's tongue is just, like, hanging out of her mouth, and she can't talk. Rarity's, like, all of her hair gets really fucked up, and she's like a shaggy dog. Flutter Guy happens, where Fluttershy's voice becomes really deep, and I think it's hilarious. Applejack becomes a little teeny tiny little Applejack. Rainbow Dash's wings get inverted so she can't properly fly. Blackjack explodes every time she takes a step. Fluttershy becomes a tree leader. Anyways, Poison Joke is great. There's just a lot of fucking funny shit that happens in this episode because of the Poison Joke. And I really like Zecora. You know why I like Zecora? Because Zecora rhymes every time she talks. Imagine dealing with Gruntilda from Banjo-Kazooie, except she's your homie. I love it. Applebloom befriends Zecora. Twilight realizes that... I do think it's kind of stupid that Twilight's like, I don't believe in anything superstitious. Also, I'm really good with magic. I get it in context, because she's like, look, magic is something that you can study. It's something you can practice. It's something that has, like, very specific results. But it's not supernatural like a curse. I'm like, I don't know. A curse sounds like it's a specific kind of magic, but... Sure, Twilight, whatever floats your boat. And also, semblances aren't magic. Ugh. I'm not gonna lie, I really like this episode. I think this episode is funny as fuck. Let's see. I don't know if I would say... Okay, here's the thing. I feel like it's probably on par with these episodes. But not as good, not as good as Dragonshy. So I think I am gonna do... Like, this feels right to me. This might be a little high. Maybe I have it as more of a B tier episode. But I do genuinely really like it. I think it's a good time. So I don't know. That actually kind of looks right. I think we'll go with that. Swarm of the Century. So this is the episode right after Zecora gets introduced, because she does show up in the episode, and I like the immediate continuity. It is the episode with the Parasprites, which are these little... Fuck, what did I compare them to? I don't remember. There was something I compared them to, because Clay watched this episode with me too. And I was like, dude, don't they look like this or remind you of this? He's like, fuck, I can't unsee it now. And now I genuinely don't remember the comparison I made, and it's bothering me immensely. I don't know if I had said it looks like a Pokemon. So I don't remember what Pokemon it was. Anyways, they're these cute little bug things that they eat all your food, and then they reproduce asexually by mitosis, by like, oh, Rayman Lums, that's what it was. I was like, dude, don't they just look like Lums from Rayman? That was it. I remember now. So they spit out another Lum, and then another Parasprite forms, and blah, 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 blah. And they just overrun the town. As soon as Pinkie Pie sees one, she calls it out. She's like, that's a Parasprite. I gotta go get my shit. And throughout the episode, she's just like, she starts collecting musical instruments. She's like, okay, Rarity, you go get these, I'll go get these, and no one pays attention to her. Either she'll be talking to Twilight, and Twilight's like, Pinkie, we got trouble. I know! How am I gonna find a trombone at this hour? I remember telling Clay, Pinkie's entire joke in this episode feels like the joke at the end of every episode of Kenan and Kel. Where Kenan, like, during the live action, I mean, the whole show is live action, but, like, in kind of like the live studio audience segment, where they come out of the curtain, and Kenan will be like, okay, Kel, I have an idea. Get me, like, 2 liters of, 2 liters of water, 5 tons of granite, a slingshot, and meet me in the middle of Central Park in 3 hours, and then walks off, and then Kenan goes, wait, Kenan, how the heck am I supposed to get to Central Park? Kenan, there you go. Like, that's kind of what Pinkie made me think of in this episode, of her just trying to collect random shit and never explaining why she's trying to collect it. The other characters in the episode, I think, are fine. I don't think anyone is particularly funny, except Pinkie. I think Pinkie's really good in this episode. When you actually get to the Parasprite polka, the do 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 do. It's unironically one of my favorite songs in the show. I really, really like the Parasprite polka. I think this episode is a lot of fun. I think it's about as good as Look Before You Sleep. I don't think it's... Are they in the same tier? Do I want to put them down with both? I don't... Maybe. We'll keep it there for now. I don't think I would put it up here, but I think I can definitely put it down here. And then we get this piece of shit. Then we get Winter Wrap-Up. I'm not even going to pretend it's not an S tier episode. This might be the best episode of the season. I adore it. It has the song, which is not the first song in the show, that, not including the opening song. That would go to Giggle at the Ghosty right over here, which I believe is technically called the Laughter Song. We've had a few, like, Pinkie Pie songs throughout the show, which the Parasprite polka is instrumental, so it doesn't count, but it kind of is. Winter Wrap-Up is your first, like, show-stopping musical number, and I unironically love it. I'll still listen to it every now and then. Anytime, like, the last day of spring happens, in my head, I think of it as Winter Wrap-Up Day. I think it's just a really fun idea. It's like, yeah, like, it's the last day of winter. Tomorrow spring is here, so we have to clean this shit up. That's fun. It really is. I like that it's an episode about tradition, and I love the moral of the episode. The moral of the episode is not, because as Twilight finds out, they're late every year bringing in spring. It doesn't come across as your tradition is bad, because they don't use magic. It's not like your tradition is bad and you need to evolve. The moral of the episode is, there's nothing wrong with your tradition, but we can make it better. Really, what the moral of the episode is, it's all about efficiency. What you need is someone who can lead. You need someone who can organize, and I can do that. You get a lot of fun shit in this episode, like Pinkie being really good at ice skating. Twilight getting scared by the snakes when she's trying to wake up all the animals. Rarity and the nest, I think, is really fucking funny. I feel like if it wasn't for the song, it would still be a really good episode. It might be down here. Maybe it would still be up here. For me, I'm going to be on... The song is what gives it this, like, level of quality. I love this fucking episode. Then there's Call of the Cutie. I think on its own merits. So to explain, this is the first Apple Bloom episode. Bridle Gossip is almost like a bit of a test run. It's like, it's still about the main 6. It is still a Twilight episode. We're just giving Applejack's little sister a bit more screen time. Here she is the star of the show. This is the episode all about a cutie mark, which if you watch the show or if you've seen any of the designs, you would know that a lot of characters, the vast majority of the cast, will have like a tattoo on their flank of something that relates to what they can do. Twilight has like these glittering stars and shit, which is all about magic, and she's the spark and whatnot. Rainbow Dash has an electric lightning bolt because... a rainbow lightning bolt because, like, she likes to race, she's really fast, and she made the rainbow. Applejack is just a bunch of apples. She likes apples. Rarities is a trio of gemstones because she loves things that are beautiful and to design. Fluttershy is a trio of butterflies because she loves animals and cute shit. Pinkie, it's a trio of balloons because she loves to party and be super energetic, etc., etc., etc. You are not born with that. It is something you find with time. It is when you find your talent. It's when you find what makes you special. And Apple Bloom is a blank flank. Shout out to Story of the Blanks. Ain't that some fun shit to explore? And it is, because she does not have her cutie mark, she feels like she is inferior, because all the other kids in her class are getting cutie marks, including her bullies, Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon, whose cutie marks are, respectively, a tiara and a silver spoon. And I think that's really funny. They're like, we just got our cutie marks. We're going to have our cute Sierra. And you know what? You're invited. But it might be really embarrassing if you showed up as a blank flank, because you're going to be the only one there. Like, they're awful. So most of this episode is Apple Bloom really wanting to get her cutie mark. And that's going to be Apple Bloom's character for the next 5 years. There's more to her than that. Yes, we'll get to that in like this episode in particular. But that's what her arc is. She hangs out with Rainbow Dash for a bit, who's like, hey, try this thing. Like, here's how you find your cutie mark, kiddo. Just keep doing shit until something sticks, which, yeah, that's just kind of what the Crusaders do. It's not really what a lot of their episodes are, though. Like, I think that's an oversimplification. But anyways, like, do a bunch of shit quickly, and you could get your mark. She ends up making cupcakes with Pinkie Pie, which is where the fic cupcakes comes from. And oh boy, if you know anything about Friendship is Magic, you might know about cupcakes. I have certainly read Cupcakes. Well, I think it's where like half of Cupcakes comes from. I think Party of One is the other half. But, then she goes to, it's also where Pinkie's brew comes from. Oh my god, Friendship is Witchcraft in the Mentally Advanced. Like, I think I generally prefer Mentally Advanced, because Rainbow Dash presents as some of the funniest shit. I do have a soft spot for some things from Friendship is Witchcraft, specifically Pinkie's brew and the Sweetie Bot, which is also from this episode, because this is when Apple Bloom meets her two friends, Sweetie Belle, who you find out later is Rarity's little sister, and Scootaloo, who is not at all related to Rainbow Dash, but is basically Rainbow Dash 2.0, who are also... Fuck, I need to breathe. Let me drink some water real quick. Sweetie and Scoots are also blank flanks. They stand up for Rarity they stand up for Apple Bloom at the party. Oh yeah, this is also where Buy Some Apples comes from. Like, there's so many memes that, like, came out of this episode. Like, so much shit. And they decide that since they're all blank flanks, they'll become friends and band together to find their cutie mark. And like I said, they actually show up all together in episode 1. And I think it's kind of neat. They end up becoming friends later anyways. They name their group the Cutie Mark Crusaders, also known as the CMC. Sometimes I will probably pronounce it as Simsa, just trying to pronounce it as a word. But, they're the other main characters of the show. It's the main 6 and Spike, and then the CMC, and then starting from season 6 onwards, Starlight fucking Glimmer. The Starlight Glimmer show. As a whole, I think this is kind of a C-tier episode. Like, I'm very neutral on it. I think it's fine. I think there's some things in it that are pretty funny. I almost would have put it up here because of all of the shit. Like, because of cupcakes, because of Pinky's Brew, because of the Sweetie Bot, because of Buying Some Apples, because of Story of the Blanks. There's a lot of great shit that came out of this episode. And unlike Boast Busters, which has Trixie, but I actively dislike a lot of the episode, there's not a lot here I actively dislike, because I don't hate the Crusaders. They have some good episodes, like Cutie Pox in season 2. It's episode 6 of season 2. That is a great episode. Like, I really, really like that one. And, like, the episodes they have with Princess Luna, I remember liking quite a lot. I know I'm about to get to Ponyville Confidential pretty soon. I remember really enjoying that one. Hearts and Hooves Day is a lot of fun. Like, I do like them. This is not their best showing, I'll be honest. But then you get this one. Like, this one's really fucking funny. I think B tier was pretty fair. Then we get the halfway point. Maybe I'll stop here for a bit and, like, take a breath, refresh myself, and then do the second half. That actually sounds like probably a good idea. Fall Weather Friends. This is the episode where Applejack and Rainbow Dash start competing with each other. And what starts off as genuinely, like, friendly competition, because both of them hate to lose and are super competitive, gets more and more, like, toxic and intense as it goes on. And it gets to a point where Rainbow Dash, in their competitions, starts using her wings. And once she starts using her wings, they go from more or less evenly matched to Rainbow Dash running away with it. And Applejack's like, hey, that's cheating. No, it's not. I have wings. Like, this is... You never said I couldn't use them. Yeah, but you're only using them because, you know, I kick your fucking ass. And it's really... I actually think it's kind of an interesting debate. A Pegasi and an Earth Pony are having a competition, the quote, Iron Pony competition. It is a bunch of physical challenges. Some of them are strength, some of them are agility, some of them are, like, other kind of shit. You can make a genuine argument that Rainbow Dash using her wings is giving her an unfair advantage, because that is something Applejack is not able to do. You can also make an argument that going against an Earth Pony in any competition of raw strength is also a heavy advantage for the Earth Pony. Applejack is probably a little bit stronger than the average Earth Pony because, like she says, years of Applebucking. Like, I'm really physically strong because of that. It's not just my race. But I think there's also an inherent advantage there. And Rainbow Dash is right. There was no agreement, there was no rule against her using her wings. Applejack is also kind of right. It's like, Rainbow Dash doesn't really start using it unless she's like, hey, I might lose this one. Maybe I should use my wings real quick. You're like, that's... I feel like in some of these, you're kind of going against the spirit of things. But maybe I should give you credit for that because you're thinking a little bit outside the box. You know what they say, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And if there's no rule against it, you're not actually cheating. Then you get to the second half of the episode, the running of the leaves, where they're... Which, again, this is 2 episodes after Tomorrow Spring is here. Oh, cool, now it's already fall. Like, damn, that was fucking fast. where it's basically a tortoise in the hare scenario with Twilight being the tortoise, where they're doing this running competition and Twilight ends up beating both of them because they spent the entire competition trying to cheat and fuck with each other. What I love, there's a part where Applejack and Rainbow Dash are racing, and Applejack trips. And Rainbow Dash did not trip her, and Applejack's like, did you see that shit, Twilight? She cheated. She is a dirty cheat. And Twilight's like, no, she didn't. I saw what happened. You tripped. That's what you tripped on. And when Applejack realizes that, she is embarrassed because she's like, she is genuinely embarrassed. Both because she tripped and fucked up, but also because she immediately assumed that her friend did something underhanded. She's like, you know what? This is maybe bringing out the worst in me. I don't like that I immediately started accusing my friend of cheating instead of reflecting on my own faults. That's on me. I'm sorry. Then when Rainbow Dash trips and Applejack did not trip her, she's like, what the fuck? She cheated. And then Twilight's like, no, Rainbow Dash. She didn't cheat. You just tripped. You weren't looking. And Rainbow Dash is like, no. She cheated. I know she cheated. I am not gonna listen to you, Twilight. And then that's when she starts actively cheating, which causes Applejack to start actively cheating, and then the episode is great. I love that so much because Applejack, being the very honest character, would assume the best in her friends and would be like, you know what? It's really shitty of me to assume the worst in other people. Rainbow Dash, being the piece of shit of the group, would be the one to say, no, it was not my fault. It can't be my fault. It had to be someone else, and refuse to accept anything else. It is so perfectly in character that I think it's fucking gold. Also, given the fact that the two of them are a couple by the very end of the show, which I don't know if it's ever been confirmed. Like, it's not to the degree of, like, Korra and Asami from the end of Korra. I'm sorry, that's pretty major fucking spoilers for Korra if you haven't seen it, my bad. But, it's not something like that where, like, oh, this is explicitly a thing. It's more just, they knew what they were doing with the way they kind of framed it there. And there is that part of me that goes, really? We're doing this? It's not Applejack and Rarity? Like, come on, man. It's like, they're an item. Like, you cannot convince me that they are not an item. I know Rarity, has a lot of, shows interest in stallions, like Prince Blue Blood, but I mean, so did Asami, so did Korra. That didn't stop them. But watching this episode in hindsight, like, this episode is just them flirting. This episode is nothing but sexual tension, which makes it way funnier. I'm gonna be honest, I fucking love this episode. It is easily one of my favorites in the first half of season 1. So, I'm gonna take a short break. I don't actually know how short it is, but I do want to keep doing this today. But I'm gonna take a bit of a break. It's been like an hour and a half already. And then we will get back and talk about the second half of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, Season 1. And I'll probably reference Fall Out Equestrian Project Horizons more along the way.